All right, so yesterday we talked about when you are sizing a nut or bolt, you're looking at threads per inch and you're looking at the diameter of the shaft there. So a quick refresher, we've got 16 threads per inch on this bolt here. All fine and well for our nuts here, we've got the diameter and the threads per inch listed. But when we get to our bolts, you'll see that there's a third. So what that third number is in a bolt designation is the length of your hardware. Should we be measuring it like this or like that? Specifically with bolts, you would do the second way. So screws ideally will sit flush to the material, and so you measure from where the material and the hardware are in the same plane, they meet. However, a bolt usually sits on top of the material. And so the material is right here, so you measure from here down. Just a bracket that holds a spare tire on a 14-foot trailer. And you can see that carriage bolt there. So when you measure that carriage bolt, where would you measure from to get the length of that bolt? Also, bonus points if you can identify a unique feature of that bolt and nut assembly there. Now on this assembly, things are a little different. Because the screw sits flush with the material, you would measure from the top of the head of the hardware. Measure this bolt, I went to the base of the head, or where the head meets the material. Now here, I get the screw length by measuring to the top plane of where the screw meets the material. I'll show a couple pictures here and that'll help solidify the idea. Here I'm going to make what you could consider a real-life section view of a screw and a block of wood. So I'm pre-drilling that hole there, and that's a beginning lesson for another day. And you'll see I'm changing bits so I can countersink it. Also a beginning lesson for another day. But I want that screw to sit in there nice and flush. Now this is a slotted head screw, which means I get to put it in manually with a screwdriver. Try and power slotted screws in. Usually it doesn't work. It takes a lot of fine motor skills. It's easier, just do it by hand, even though it may not seem like it. And I'm going to cut this screw in half. What I'm about to do, I don't really want to see any of my students do, per se. You know, I try and keep our wood tools on wood and our metal tools on metal, but I did want to go ahead and cut through that screw nice and clean, and I knew this tool could do the job, and I'd clean it up afterwards. Now I gotta say, when you get a screw to sit in there nice and flush, like shown on Taylor's stool, or the screw I just showed you, it really amplifies the quality of the project. Can't count how many projects just kind of had the meh factor when it could have had the wow factor, simply due to poor screw spacing and screw installation. And of course, this is one of those topics everyone's like, oh, I got it. And then you look at their work and you're like, not sure if you do. So to recap, we measure our screws from the top of the head and our bolts from where the bottom of the head meets the material. Now that second number, the threads per inch that we talked about, isn't always included in the labeling because you can see it's pretty standard. You get a 3/8 bolt, it's almost always going to have 16 threads per inch or 24 threads per inch. And I bring that up because I label them on all our bins because I think it's great to get more familiar with those designations. But a lot of packaging, as you're about to see, may not include it because a lot of times it's kind of a given. So now you know the 3 different numbers that go into a bolt specification, how to identify a nut, a little bit about measuring screw versus bolt length, and believe it or not, I could run a whole class on this stuff.